If you're here, it's because you want to become stronger, freer, and more self-aware. Stay until the end and discover how the principles of the ancient Stoics can truly transform your life. And if you want more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Have you ever paused, really paused, to ask yourself what stands between you and the version of yourself you've always dreamed of becoming? Not the polite, surface-level answer you give others when they ask about your goals, but the raw, vulnerable truth. For many of us, the obstacle is not out there. It's not a boss who didn't see our value, not the economy, not even the unpredictable chaos of life. Often, the greatest barrier is us, our habits, our reactions, our fears, our inability to see clearly what's in our control and what isn't. That realization is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it means we can no longer hide behind excuses. Liberating because it means the power has always been in our hands. And if the power has always been in our hands, then today, this very moment, can be the beginning of something extraordinary. Welcome to this journey. Not just a video, not just a speech, but a path. A path that invites you to turn inward, to focus on yourself, not in a selfish or egotistical way, but in the only way that truly matters. Because when you learn to master yourself, to discipline your mind, to strengthen your character, you don't just transform your own life. You become a lighthouse to others, a living example of resilience, wisdom, and authenticity. The philosophy we'll lean on for this transformation is Stoicism. Ancient, yes, but timeless. Born in the streets of Athens, refined in the halls of Roman power, Stoicism has crossed millennia because its truths are eternal. Epictetus, born a slave, who taught freedom of mind even in chains. Seneca, an advisor to emperors, who warned about wasting life on trivial pursuits. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the known world, who still wrote nightly reminders to himself about humility, courage, and acceptance. Why do their voices still resonate? Because human nature hasn't changed. The storms they faced, fear, loss, injustice, desire, ambition, are the same storms we face today. Technology evolves, but the human heart remains. So here's the invitation. Focus on yourself. Not in the shallow way social media tells you, self-care, as a bubble bath or luxury shopping spree, but as an act of radical responsibility. Focus on your mind, your discipline, your choices. Focus on aligning your actions with your values. Focus on becoming the kind of person who meets life's challenges not with panic, but with poise. This path is not easy. It requires effort, honesty, and courage. But it is simple. The principles are clear. And if you walk with me through these words, step by step, you may come to see yourself and the world around you with new eyes. So take a deep breath, center yourself, and let's begin. Do you know the importance of standing firm in the face of life's challenges? Every single one of us has stood before something that felt impossible. A rejection, a failure, a heartbreak, a dream that seemed just out of reach. Marcus Aurelius, philosopher and emperor, left us with words that echo across centuries. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Think about that. What if the thing you're struggling with right now, the stress at work, the loss you're grieving, the uncertainty about your future, wasn't blocking your path, but shaping it? What if the obstacle wasn't a wall, but a doorway? Imagine a puzzle dumped across your table. At first, it's overwhelming thousands of scattered, mismatched pieces. You could give up, saying it's too hard. Or you could pick up one piece, then another, testing, trying, until slowly the picture emerges. That's life. Every obstacle is a piece of the puzzle. It may not make sense at the moment. It may even frustrate you. But one day, when you step back, you see that each piece had its place. And every piece you fit into place changes you. Each challenge overcome builds resilience. Each hardship endured builds patience. Each mistake teaches wisdom. You emerge stronger, sharper, more prepared for the next test. So the next time life throws a challenge at you, don't ask, why me? Ask, what is this here to teach me? That shift in mindset, simple but profound, is the beginning of mastery. Because the truth is, we can't control whether life is a storms, but we can control whether we use the storm to grow roots or whether we let it uproot us. One of the most liberating truths of Stoicism is this: no matter what happens outside of us, we always hold power over how we respond. Think about how often we get caught in frustration, anger, or despair over things that ultimately we cannot control. The weather ruins our plans. Someone cuts us off in traffic. A colleague makes a hurtful comment. The stock market drops. Our natural instinct is to fight, resist, complain. But tell me honestly, has complaining ever changed the rain? Has anger ever made traffic disappear? Has resentment ever rewritten the past? Epictetus, once a slave and later one of the greatest Stoic teachers, drew a simple line. There are things within our control and things beyond our control. Our opinions, our choices, our actions, those are ours. The rest other people's actions, external events, fortune, are not. Imagine how much lighter life would feel if you stopped carrying the weight of things you could never control. Imagine how much energy would be freed if you stopped trying to change other people and instead focused on your own character. Choice is power. You may not choose the storm, but you can choose whether to curse the rain or to use it to water your growth. You may not choose what others say, but you can choose whether to let their words poison your peace or pass through you like wind. And here's the secret. When you choose wisely, consistently, over time, you build not only resilience, but freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of impulse. Freedom from being at the mercy of every external circumstance. Pause for a moment and think of one area of your life where you feel powerless. Now ask, what within this situation is truly in my control? What choices are mine? Maybe you can't control your boss's mood, but you can control how prepared you are. Maybe you can't control the economy, but you can control your spending, your saving, your creativity. Maybe you can't control whether someone loves you back, but you can control the love and respect you give to yourself. This is not about ignoring reality. It's about aligning yourself with it. When you stop fighting battles you cannot win, you suddenly discover that you have more strength for the battles that matter. The Stoics remind us daily, our power lies not in controlling the world, but in mastering ourselves. And that mastery begins always with choice. When you hear the word courage, what comes to mind? Soldiers on the battlefield? Heroes in epic stories? Grand, dramatic acts of sacrifice? Yes, courage can look like that. But most of the time, courage is quieter, smaller. It lives in the moments that often go unnoticed. Courage is getting out of bed on mornings when your heart feels heavy. Courage is applying for a job after 10 rejections. Courage is admitting when you're wrong, even if your pride resists. Courage is starting again when it would be easier to give up. Every day, life gives us opportunities to practice courage. Some are small, like speaking up in a meeting or having an honest conversation with a friend. Some are larger, like facing illness, loss, or uncertainty about the future. But in every case, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite fear. Think of your own life. Where are you holding back right now because fear whispers in your ear? Maybe you fear failure. Maybe you fear judgment. Maybe you fear stepping outside your comfort zone. What would happen if you acted with courage instead of retreat? The Stoics saw courage as one of the 4 cardinal virtues, alongside wisdom, temperance, and justice. To live without courage, they believed, was to live half alive, enslaved by fear. To live with courage was to claim your freedom. And remember, courage is contagious. When you face your fears, you give permission to others to face theirs. When you choose courage in your daily life, you become an example, a spark that ignites courage in those around you. One more thing. Courage does not mean doing everything alone. It can also mean reaching out for help, admitting vulnerability, opening your heart. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to say, I don't know, but I want to learn. So the next time fear rises, pause. Acknowledge it. Thank it for trying to protect you. And then remind yourself, I am stronger than my fear. I am guided by virtue, not by panic. That is courage. In a world that constantly screams more, faster, bigger, there is one word that feels almost revolutionary: temperance. Temperance doesn't sound glamorous. It doesn't trend on social media, but it holds a secret that can change everything: balance. The Stoics taught that temperance is the art of self-control, moderation, and harmony. Imagine life as a ship sailing across unpredictable seas. Courage gives you the strength to face storms. Wisdom gives you the map. Justice gives you the purpose. And temperance? Temperance is the rudder. Without it, you drift. With it, you steer. Think about our modern lives. We are bombarded daily with temptations. Endless scrolling, fast food, consumerism, distraction after distraction. Each one whispers, indulge just a little more. And while pleasure itself is not evil, excess always comes at a cost: our health, our focus, our peace of mind. Temperance is not about denial or asceticism. It's not about refusing joy. It's about choosing joy with wisdom. It's about knowing when enough is enough. Eating until you're nourished, not until you're stuffed. Working hard, but not until burnout. Using technology, but not letting it consume your presence. Seneca once wrote, "We should treat our bodies as if we were going to live forever, and our souls as if we were going to die tomorrow." In other words, care for yourself, but don't drown in excess. Live wisely. Live presently. Ask yourself, where in your life are you out of balance? Perhaps you're chasing wealth so relentlessly that you've neglected your relationships. Or maybe you've indulged so much in comfort that your discipline has withered. What would your life look like if you applied temperance? If you found the middle path? Temperance gives you freedom. Because the person who cannot say no to pleasure, to anger, to distraction, is not free. They are a slave to impulse. But the person who can enjoy, then stop. Who can feel anger, then choose calm. Who can use tools without being used by them, that person is free. So let temperance be your rudder. Let it steer you away from extremes. In a noisy, chaotic world, temperance whispers, stay centered, stay balanced, stay free. Here's a question we don't ask ourselves often enough. Who am I, really? Most of the time, we rush through life on autopilot. We react instead of reflect. We do things because that is just how I am, or that's what everyone else does. But rarely do we stop, sit down, and examine our own minds. Self-examination is one of the most powerful practices in Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, ended his days by journaling about his weaknesses, his anger, his distractions, his failures. Why? Because he knew that without self-awareness, power is empty. Think of it this way. You wouldn't embark on a journey without checking your map, would you? Yet how often do we navigate life without checking if our actions align with our values? Take a moment. Ask yourself, am I living according to what I truly believe, or am I just following the crowd? Do my daily actions reflect the kind of person I want to be? When I react with anger, envy, or fear, is that really who I want to be, or just a habit I've never challenged? This is not about judgment. It's about clarity. When you examine yourself honestly, you can see where you're drifting and gently correct your course. And here's where the power of the mind comes in. The Stoics taught that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Two people can face the same storm. One collapses, the other stands firm. The difference is not in the storm, but in the mind. If you learn to master your thoughts, to question your assumptions, to separate reality from the stories you tell yourself, you become uncheckable. You can walk through fire and still hold peace inside. Try this simple practice tonight. Before bed, reflect on your day. Ask, what did I do well? Where did I fall short? What can I learn for tomorrow? Write it down if you can. Over time, these small reflections build an extraordinary clarity. Because the truth is, the unexamined life is not just unwise, it's wasted. But the examined life even with its flaws, is rich, meaningful, and deeply alive. If self-examination is the map, then meditation and mindfulness are the practice that help us walk the path. Our minds are often like a turbulent sea waves of worry, currents of distraction, storms of desire. We wake up already scrolling, already comparing, already pulled in 100 directions. No wonder we feel exhausted before the day even begins. But imagine if you could calm that sea. Imagine if you could learn to sit with your thoughts without being dragged under by them. That's where meditation enters. Meditation is not about emptying your mind of all thoughts. That's a myth. It's about creating space between you and your thoughts. It's about learning to observe them, like clouds drifting across the sky. You see them, you acknowledge them, but you do not become them. The Stoics didn't meditate in the modern, cross-legged, incense-filled sense, but they practiced reflection and presence daily. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That is mindfulness in its purest form. The recognition that the present moment is all we ever have. The past is gone. The future is not yet here. Only now exists. And yet, how often do we miss it, lost in regret or worry? Mindfulness is the art of returning, again and again, to now. Drinking water and actually tasting it, walking and feeling your steps, listening to someone without planning your reply, breathing and noticing each inhale and exhale. Simple practices, but powerful transformations. Because when you anchor yourself in the present, the storms lose their grip. The mind becomes steady. Peace emerges. Try this. Tomorrow morning, before looking at your phone, sit quietly for 5 minutes. Just breathe. Notice your thoughts, but don't chase them. Return to the breath. That's it. 5 minutes of clarity before the chaos of the world. Do this consistently, and you'll find a shift. Challenges won't vanish, but your relationship to them will. You'll meet life with calm instead of panic, with awareness instead of reactivity. Meditation and mindfulness aren't luxuries. They are disciplines of freedom. Freedom from distraction, from worry, from living everywhere except the present. And when you live in the present fully, deeply, you don't just survive life. You experience it. Life is change. This truth can feel heavy, but it is also the key to resilience. Look around. Everything is in motion. Seasons shift. Bodies age. Fortunes rise and fall. People enter and leave our lives. Nothing is permanent. Nothing stands still. The Stoics didn't resist this truth. They embraced it. They understood that suffering often comes not from events themselves, but from our refusal to accept impermanence. We cling to what must eventually change. We demand permanence in a world built on change. But here's the paradox. Once you accept impermanence, you unlock peace. Think of a flower. Its beauty is inseparable from its fragility. You don't mourn that it will one day wither. You marvel at its bloom now. Life is the same. Every moment, every person, every experience is a gift, precious precisely because it is temporary. Resilience grows from this acceptance. When you know that storms will come and go, you stop fearing them. When you know that loss is part of love, you cherish love more deeply. When you know that nothing lasts forever, not pain, not joy, not failure, you learn to face all of it with equanimity. The Stoics practiced this with what they called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. They would imagine loss before it happened, not to become pessimistic, but to prepare their hearts. By reflecting on impermanence, they learn to greet life with gratitude instead of entitlement. Think of your own life. The hard times you thought would break you, did they not pass? And the moments of joy you thought would last forever, did they not fade? This is the rhythm of existence. To resist it is to suffer. To accept it is to grow. Resilience doesn't mean never bending. It means bending without breaking. It means finding your inner fortress, the calm within, that no external change can shatter. So the next time life shifts beneath your feet, remember, this too shall pass. And within that passing lies an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, freer. Impermanence is not a curse. It is the very thing that makes life beautiful. And resilience is the gift it leaves behind. Philosophy is not meant to stay on dusty pages of books. Philosophy is meant to be lived. The Stoics knew this. They didn't want to impress others with clever words. They wanted to train their minds, strengthen their spirits, and live with virtue. So how do we bring Stoicism into our own daily lives? Not in grand, dramatic ways, but in simple, consistent practices. 1. Morning intention. When you wake up, take a moment before the noise of the world rushes in. Remind yourself, today I will face obstacles. Some people will be rude. Some things will go wrong. But none of this can touch my mind unless I allow it. This sets the tone. You begin the day grounded, not reactive. 2. Practice gratitude. At least once a day, name 3 things you are grateful for. Not just the obvious ones, dig deeper. Gratitude shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance, from entitlement to humility. Even challenges can make the list because they sharpen your character. 3. Pause before reacting. Next time you feel anger rising, pause. Ask, is this within my control? If not, let it go. If yes, act calmly. This single habit can transform relationships, workplaces, and your own inner peace. 4. Evening reflection. Before bed, look back on your day. Marcus Aurelius did this. Ask, where did I act with virtue? Where did I fail? What can I improve tomorrow? This daily check-in is how small improvements accumulate into profound transformation. 5. Practice temperance in little things. Don't wait for big moments. Start with small acts of discipline. Put your phone down at dinner. Eat 1 portion instead of 2. Go for a walk instead of scrolling. Each act builds your muscle of self-control. 6. Remember impermanence. When something frustrates you, remind yourself, this too shall pass. When something delights you, remind yourself, this too shall pass. In both cases, you anchor yourself in wisdom. These are not rules, they are invitations. Try one or two. Let them shape your day. Over time, you'll notice subtle shifts. More calm, more clarity, more strength. The beauty of Stoicism is that it doesn't demand perfection. It asks only that you practice. Day by day, step by step, virtue by virtue. And so, we return to where we began. The invitation to focus on yourself, not the shallow self-focus of vanity or ego, but the deep, transformative focus of aligning your actions with your values, disciplining your mind, strengthening your character. We've walked through courage, temperance, wisdom, resilience. We've seen how obstacles can become opportunities, how impermanence can be a gift, how self-examination, meditation, and daily practices can reshape the way we live. The Stoics remind us of something simple but profound. Happiness is not found in controlling the world. It is found in mastering yourself. So when you look in the mirror tomorrow morning, don't just see a face. See potential. See a student of life. See someone capable of meeting challenges with dignity, of walking through storms with peace, of inspiring others through quiet strength. The journey is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming fully yourself, the self that fear, distraction, and impulse have long buried. The self that wisdom, courage, and discipline can bring back to life. Remember, obstacles are not barriers, but doors. Fear is not an enemy, but a signal to practice courage. Excess is not freedom, but slavery balance is freedom. The mind is not a cage, but a tool train it well. Life is not permanent, but fleeting, so live with gratitude. If you practice these truths daily, even in small ways, you will change. And when you change, the world around you changes too. So here is the final call. Focus on yourself, not tomorrow, not next week, now, in this moment, because the present is all you ever truly have. Take this step, begin the journey, and watch what happens when you finally live not by chance, but by choice. If this message inspired you, imagine how much more you can grow by continuing this journey with us. Subscribe to the channel and join those who choose every day to live with courage, wisdom, and discipline.